pay at least some attention to what I say. The screenshot for this is a message between her and I on Christine Buhit's account. As many of you may know, Christine Buhit, aka Christine Lushinger, is a friend of mine who died of a fentanyl overdose a couple of years ago. She lived the same lifestyle that Natalie thought was so wonderful. Well, Christine Buhit thought that to begin with too. But it didn't stay so wonderful. Christine used to complain that it's not the same as when she was young and pretty. Anyway, Rose M. Kelly, aka Rose M. Self, she and her family, as well as Danica Garner and her family, took part in gaslighting me on the internet, on my Facebook, and they just kept it up for years. Now, I spoke out, and there's all sorts of people who are witnesses to these situations. I posted up conversations with them. On my Facebook, just a few minutes ago, I posted up some conversations. Aaron Cockerham is one of the people that I was telling you about. You remember I told you that when I attempted to end my life in January of 2018, I attempted to end my life over being abused by law enforcement, by the Bollingers, by the public, and also by Mike Boudet. I mean, that dude totally took advantage of me. Now, Dan Faber was a witness to a lot of the situations. He also can verify that he had to talk to the FBI, or got to, but he didn't tell the FBI about any of the crimes. There's a few recordings with Dan Faber on them, on my YouTube and on my Facebook. Dan Faber is friends with Aaron Cockerham. When Aaron Cockerham first reached out to me, it was right after Natalie was killed, and Layla Johnson was a fake account who was pretending to help me, and she did in some ways. But the problem is she never come forward. She couldn't very well, could she? She's not actually a real person. I mean, there's a real person there, but she used somebody else's profile picture. And every time she was going to do something to help me, she had some emergency. She was going to kill herself. She had to go dunk herself in a pond. All sorts of crazy shit. I'm like, what the fuck? I have things I got to get done. And this lady is pretending to be all sorts of fucked up things like that. And people gaslight me like that all the time, pretending to be somebody I know, calling and telling me that they're a doctor or they're an autism advocate like Kara Johnson Miles did. Like, these people gaslighted the fuck out of me, and there's still a lot of evidence of it. But you see how police, no matter where I am, they don't give a fuck. You also get to see the aftermath, and people are pissed off at me because I posted up evidence from them that I told the truth, that they were involved, that these things did in fact happen. That I'm not some schizophrenic, delusional fucking nut job. But then there's the part where these people are so adamant that I should work together with these people even after knowing that they're not who they say they are. Dan Faber was one of those people. And I needed the help. Now, I had the evidence of that. That's one of the things I was trying to get Lana and Amanda Ingline to look at, or Jerry Sparks. But they were too busy with other things. It was about hanging out and about, of course, throwing tantrums over stupid shit. Like, they didn't stop to think about me through that. At first appearances, you'd think so because they spent money. But it wasn't money that I needed. It was somebody to look at the evidence. It was somebody to speak up for me. Not somebody who was going to take advantage of my disabilities as they already had. That's why many of my friends, before Natalie died, it's why I stopped being friends with them. They kept taking advantage of me, kept on thinking that they could make a deal, like Lan Engeline, for example, always wanting to help over there with manual labor, right? And I'd go over and I'd help with the manual labor. But then, of course, she wants it done at her pace, and whether I'm able to do it at her pace or not doesn't make any difference. She pulls the same racist crap you guys do with the, oh, you just need to man up. Now, a lot of this evidence, I had to go back and collect it. It would have been a lot easier if these people would have just come forward and told the fucking cops this shit and told the public this shit. It would have been nice if it hadn't even gotten that far. It would have been nice if people like Mark Swanigan and Stephen McMillian and Kayla Trujillo had been actual friends before Natalie was killed. There's a lot of people that I went to that were friends of mine before Natalie was killed about the situation. Like the Martindales. I went to them especially after Natalie was killed. Hey, I need help. A lot of people want to throw token help at somebody who has no voice. I have to hope that you guys will speak up. When I need you to speak up, and instead you give me a van, I'm thankful for the van. With the Martindales, I was glad that Rick Martindale got me that van. I was glad for it. I tried to pay him back on multiple occasions for it. He refused to take my money. But then later on, it was thrown in my face that he bought a van for me as an excuse for some really fucked up shit that happened with his family and William Barr over Natalie's death. He's the one who claimed to be an internet investigator. And some of you tried to pretend he doesn't exist, that he was a figment of my imagination. But then he tried taking me to court. So now I have paperwork that shows that he does exist. He is a real person. And he did, in fact, claim that he was doing internet investigations with the Denver Police Department. Also claimed that he used to be a former Denver sheriff. He talks about in the paperwork where he's trying to prevent me from being heard. He claims that I told him I was schizophrenic and told him that I was doing drugs and some other shit like that. And, you know, that's as easy as it is for a police officer who doesn't want to do his job. They're all trained to do that. Every officer in America is taught how to do that shit. If they don't learn it in their schools, then they learn it from the old hands who are not so tech savvy and very lazy and would rather just find whoever it's easiest to slap a tag on, say he's mentally ill, he probably did it, we might as well just throw him away. Pick a homeless male, nobody cares. You get to see through this, where when people did care and they did want to see it and they did want to see the truth, how I didn't have the technical abilities to show them. And then I had so many people getting on and spamming my stuff and claiming that it was all spam. Everything I had on there was spam, 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 spam. The evidence of abuse against me and the sheer number of people and places that I went to about that abuse, to have nothing done, to be stuck at drug dealers' houses. Now, the stuff that I posted on my Facebook this evening, just a few minutes ago, one of them is a conversation with Cara Rogers, talking about her life being threatened by a woman who lives in the same county as her, named Erin Cockerham. Erin Cockerham talks about the same situation from her side. They both threaten to kill each other. See, this is what I didn't need. I didn't need that fucking drama. And those people and their drama was hell on me, especially since Cara Rogers had important evidence. And of course, what did she do? She destroyed that evidence. No, I'm not going to be fucking happy with her. That evidence is evidence that when they tried to force me to get on a bus without my flip phone that had the evidence that Natalie and I were friends, when she was claiming I stalked her, she thought she was in love with me. We kept on doing the things that she wanted to do. She kept on canceling because she had an ex-boyfriend who was going to fucking kill himself. Had to eat up every moment of her time. Meanwhile, she was on opiates because she broke her leg in a car accident that wasn't an accident. She tried to commit suicide over her family because I wasn't there fast enough. Now, I posted up conversations with Aaron Cockerham. I posted up conversations with Dan Favorite. I posted up conversations with Cara Rogers, who is also talking about having her son, people were sending her pictures of her son with a noose around his neck. There's also Dan Favorite. He talks about how Layla Johnson thought she was in love with me and she was typing all sorts of crazy shit in these Natalie Bollinger groups. I'm like, here's the thing. People didn't help take pictures of those. And most of those I was blocked from when they were made. I didn't even find out I was blocked from them until I found out that they existed. People said, hey man, you should take a look at this. You should take a look at that. And I'd try to look at what they're telling me to look at. And I'm like, hey, I'm blocked from it. I can't see nothing on there. There's only like 2 websites that would allow me to get on them. One of them was the one that was created by Katie Cahill, and I still have it. The conversations with her are on my Facebook, and from time to time I go back and repost them on my Facebook. Well, sorry, they're on my YouTube. And from time to time I do repost them on my Facebook. It shows that these people were claiming that they were going to help me how I needed. And that instead I was gaslighted like a motherfucker. They didn't help how I needed. And then later on, they kept on changing their excuses. There was a lot of witnesses. They just never came forward. It was a bunch of fucking web troll, web sleuth groups that people were interested in Natalie's death. They weren't actually interested in helping how I needed. Some of them offered the help that I needed, but they never followed through. There's a lot of times where people were trying to offer the help that I needed, but at that point in time, in the predicament that I was in, there's no way I was going to be able to accept it. In some of these situations, people finally offered me a safe place in Colorado to stay when I had to flee the state of Colorado for my own safety. In each and every one of these situations, crimes were committed against me by law enforcement and by the Bollinger family and by the public, people who were watching these YouTube groups and these web sleuth groups. Yeah, they were fucking evil. And then I get traded like I invented it. Like Natalie Bollinger never existed. Like nobody would ever harm anybody over slander on the news. Like nobody ever killed anybody over slander from the news. No, that shit happens often. They pretend I didn't go to the cops. You get to see how many times I've gone to the cops. They send me to somebody else. It gets to the point where I'm like, hey, I need an advocate. You guys are not going to listen to me without an advocate. So then they send me to all these advocacy agencies that don't fucking advocate. So why am I being sent there? Sarah Bacon's on there talking about her life and her family being threatened. She also talks about having cancer and being an alcoholic. A lot of people saw this stuff going on and didn't help to turn it in. There's also a lot of people like Aaron Cockerham and Cara Rogers who claim they try to turn it in, but they have no evidence of it. And when I asked for them to come forward with that evidence so that I could turn it in, I mean, the cops were claiming that these people didn't exist and that nobody ever tried to help. I'm like, well, here's some evidence to the contrary. But the one thing that they did not do was help to turn that into the courts. You get to hear with all of these people, no matter what, there's always some excuse not to do what it is that they originally said they were going to do. Anyway, Sarah Bacon and her husband Nick Bacon, they're recorded, and I posted them up, the video, on my Facebook. So if you go to my Facebook page, you can see those, the ones with Sarah Bacon, the ones with Cara Rogers, a.k.a. Cara Mia. When you guys accused me of stealing tens of thousands of dollars from people through 2 GoFundMes, one of those GoFundMes was made by Cara Rogers, a.k.a. Cara Mia. And she also was instrumental in them trying to coordinate to force me to do something that doesn't work. They got me a victim's rights advocate and claimed that because they got me a victim's rights advocate, now they did something for me, I got to do something for them and get on a bus and go to Montana. Well, Rapid City, South Dakota. No, it doesn't work that way. At that point, I had to get my flip phone, had to try to show what was going on, had to show that me and Natalie were friends. She wasn't stalked. She was on fucking drugs and fucking flipped out over a broken goddamn phone and a broken goddamn car. It used to be her phone, and the car I got from David Nelson and Laura Nelson. Now, Cara Rogers, a.k.a. Cara Mia, she was in a lot of those groups arguing with people and also promising she was going to help me, and she didn't. She was one of the people that was giving out information. So, like when, all right, Lana Engeline's daughter is dumb as a fucking stump. I mean, there are probably rocks more intelligent than her. And she let it out in that group that I was going to Rapid City, and I was. Jamie Lee Curtis and her son were going to take me in, and I was going to be able to try to repair myself for a few days before going to Lana and Amanda's. But by that point, that whole argument and fighting and all that was embroiled by the time I got to Montana. Jamie was pissed off that I had told about the situation with her and James, because I had to turn around on my trip to go see Natalie to go back and rescue Jamie and her son and move them out of James's house. When that happened, that ate up all of the money that I had to go see Ed Simmons. It ate up all the money that I had to go see Amanda DeMette. I got to see like 3 of the people that I meant to see. Well, 4 of the people I meant to see there. Because there was Rachel, and then there was Natalie, and there was Alicia. Now, I posted the people that were there at the very beginning. The people who were letting me know that their lives were being threatened, their families were being threatened. And yes, with them not helping me to turn that in, but them constantly bombarding me with I'm being threatened, my life is being threatened. Well, if I try to turn it in alone, then they'll make any excuse not to take that from me. So Sarah Bacon needed to come forward with me. All of these people who were being threatened specifically because they were trying to help me or claiming they were trying to help me, what they were doing was arguing with people in Facebook groups, and people were threatening to kill them. And all of these situations with the cops, I not only have the cops recorded lying at me, I've got witnesses that I recorded speaking about how the cops did not tell the truth. Many of those people wanted to throw tantrums later on when they found out that our conversations were on Facebook and YouTube. Well, shit. They could have come forward at any point in time. Instead of pretending they were good people, they could have actually been good people. So Dan Fabert, Aaron Cockerham, Sarah Bacon, and Cara Rogers, I posted up conversations with all of them on my Facebook today. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of people that I was involved with, and yes, it is too complicated to do anything with, but you don't get to walk away from something like this. This destroys every aspect of your life and makes you a target no matter where you go. Now you can see that obviously Natalie Marie Bollinger's mother has no love for Ted. And she doesn't have much like for Danica Garner or Rochelle Shelley Campbell either. When she sent me that message, Rochelle Shelley Campbell and Danica Garner, that's two of Ted Bollinger's ex-wives, were both in contact with me and promising me they were going to help me. They were going to help me to turn it in. They were going to help me turn in these crimes, so on and so forth. But without a friend or family member of my own, with me having to depend on predators like law enforcement and the Bollingers, and yes, when you're broke, law enforcement are predators. You're an easy wrap-up. You can't afford bail. You can't afford to hire a guard to bring you a telephone with all of the phone numbers that you need. Matter of fact, they prevented me from having money that was sent by a woman named Mandy Hughes. She speaks about that money, but it was never sent. Her daughter, Alyssa Rainwater, who was also, according to her, a 911 operator the night that Natalie was killed, she said that they all knew that I didn't do it, but they didn't release that to the public. It was one giant clusterfuck of people trying to fucking harm me and destroy my name so that nobody would listen to me. This is textbook gaslighting. But I'm also an asshole who cares about my loved ones. When Natalie Marie Bollinger disappeared, I didn't go pushing all of that heavy shit that she had fucking done to me. I was more worried about finding her alive, getting her somewhere safe, which unfortunately is what I needed, was somewhere safe. When Alicia Bollinger disappeared, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. The same thing with Natalie Bollinger. I spoke up immediately, even though it was a fucking freezing day in South Dakota. Happy birthday to Sean. I've got stuff up on my YouTube and on my Facebook from Maddie Boa and Alicia Bollinger and Natalie Bollinger and both of the stepmothers, and from Rose M. Kelly herself. There's a lot of evidence that should have been looked at, and it never was, because not one of my friends would even look. They didn't care. They thought, oh, pretty words are help. No, they're not. The things that I recorded with these people, they should have spoken up about in court instead of gaslighting me and allowing me to be treated like I'm a schizophrenic for things that they were able to verify were true and simply never tried. And certainly never tried with me.